Mia Johnson arrived at St. Mary's Hospital just as the morning sun pierced through the gray clouds, casting a warm glow over the bustling streets of the city. The air was filled with a mix of excitement and anxiety as people hurried to their destinations, unaware that heroes walked among them in white coats and scrubs. Among these heroes was Mia, a nurse with a heart full of compassion and a spirit that could lift anyone's mood. With her chestnut hair pulled back into a neat bun, Mia navigated through the crowded emergency department with ease. She greeted patients with a bright smile, her blue scrubs contrasting against the sterile environment of the hospital. "Good morning. How are you feeling today?" she asked an elderly man waiting for treatment. Her voice was soothing, like a gentle breeze on a hot summer day. Mia had always dreamed of being a nurse. Inspired by her grandmother's stories of helping others, she dedicated herself to this noble profession that it wasn't just about administering medications or taking temperatures. It was about making connections with people during their most vulnerable moments. She believed every patient deserved warmth and care, and it was this belief that drove her to work longer hours than most. Every shift brought new challenges. One moment she could be tending to a young child with a broken arm, and the next, she could find herself assisting in a life-saving surgery. Yet, Mia handled each situation with calm confidence, her heart racing, only when it meant saving a life. But what Mia's colleagues and patients didn't know was that beneath the surface of her gentle demeanor lay extraordinary skills honed from years of training, not just as a nurse but also as an elite secret agent in the shadows of her daily life. She practiced combat techniques and surveillance tactics far removed from her role in healthcare. She lived this double life in strict secrecy, knowing that if anyone discovered who she really was, it might put both her life and those around her endangered. As Mia made her rounds that morning, she exchanged pleasantries with her coworkers while keeping an eye out for anything unusual. Her instincts were sharp. They had been refined through countless missions where quick thinking meant survival. Today felt different, though, the air tinged with something ominous that Mia couldn't quite put her finger on. At lunch break, she sat down in the staff room, sipping her coffee while briefly skimming through news articles on her phone. Headlines about drug activities in the city caught her attention. That a powerful cartel was gaining ground, causing chaos and fear among the residents. Unbeknownst to Mia, this cartel was planning something even more dangerous that would soon unfold within the walls of St. Mary's Hospital. Just then, one of her nursing colleagues, Sarah, burst into the room, panic etched across her face. "Mia, you have to see this," she exclaimed, waving her phone in front of everyone. Mia jumped out of her seat and followed Sarah as she led them to a nearby computer screen. They gathered around and quickly discovered surveillance footage showing suspicious vehicles parked near the hospital entrance. Vehicles that had no place at St. Mary's. "Do you think they're after someone?" another nurse asked nervously. "Maybe," Mia replied thoughtfully, an unsettling feeling settling in her stomach. Her mind raced as she pieced together information about recent drug-related incidents in the area. Before they could discuss further, an alarm rang out, echoing through the halls like thunder rolling before a storm. The hospital staff responded almost instinctively. They moved swiftly to keep patients safe while trying to assess what was happening. Mia felt adrenaline surge through her veins. This was no ordinary drill or false alarm. Something serious was underway. She stayed calm on the outside but inside. Every training session came rushing back to her mind as they began lockdown procedures for patient safety. Mia quietly watched for any signs of trouble through windows lined along the corridor leading to the emergency entrance. Her instincts told her that danger lurked just beyond those doors. The sounds of commotion grew louder, a sign that something terrible might be about to happen. She clenched her fists at her sides, determined to protect those around her without revealing who she truly was, not just a caring nurse, but also an unassuming secret agent ready to act if needed. Little did Mia know that today would change everything. Her world as a nurse and secret agent would soon collide in ways she never anticipated. Beneath Mia Johnson's friendly smile and nurturing demeanor lay a world of secrets, one that her colleagues at St. Mary's Hospital could never have imagined. When she wasn't caring for her patients, she transformed into a highly trained secret agent, equipped with skills that most people only dreamed of possessing. Her path to becoming an elite agent began years ago when she joined a special training program while pursuing her nursing career. The opportunity arose unexpectedly. After helping some injured officers during a medical event, They recognized her exceptional physical abilities and sharp mind. They approached her with an invitation to train in protection and combat techniques, filling her with excitement for this new venture alongside her healthcare aspirations. Day after day, Mia dedicated herself to both roles, nurse by day and agent by night. She learned hand-to-hand combat, advanced first aid methods even beyond the scope of regular nursing, and stealth techniques that allowed her to move without making a sound. Under the watchful eye of tough trainers, Mia faced grueling workouts and simulated missions that pushed her limits. She became proficient in observation tactics, often assessing situations within seconds and devising plans accordingly. Not only did Mia master physical training, she also honed mental toughness through simulations of high-pressure scenarios. These experiences shaped how she approached each day at the hospital. For example, when tending to a patient experiencing profound distress or panic, she employed calming strategies learned during her undercover training. Soft-spoken reassurance mixed with effective distraction techniques that made a world of difference. However, it was not just combat skills that Mia developed. She learned to navigate complex environments too. Gathering information often required patience and attentiveness. Whether it was observing patterns among coworkers or listening closely to patient stories, she applied her espionage skills subtly while maintaining her caring nurse persona. With each mission completed under the cover of darkness, Mia fortified her dual identity as she resolved conflicts that arose in the agency's pursuit of justice. Yet it wasn't easy living two lives. At times, it felt like walking a tightrope where any misstep could expose who she truly was, potentially putting herself and others in danger. Despite these challenges, Mia managed to balance both worlds seamlessly until now. The looming threat of the cartel filled her with unease, as if shadows from the dark corners of her life were creeping into the light. Her instincts told her these criminals wouldn't hesitate to harm anyone who got in their way, including innocent hospital staff and patients. As news broke about increased cartel activity in the city, Mia intensified her training, adding target practice sessions with firearms to maintain proficiency alongside her hand-to-hand skills. Concealed behind closed doors late into the night, she absorbed knowledge from intelligence reports regarding criminal strategies while practicing stealth movements around furniture in her small apartment. Mia's downtime was scarce but invaluable. During quiet moments between shifts at the hospital, she'd sneak away to visit local gyms where elite agents discreetly gathered for informal training sessions, a place where everyone understood one another's unique lives. They drilled tactical maneuvers while maintaining friendships based on mutual respect rather than revealing personal details. One fateful Saturday afternoon, while reviewing just-released intel concerning cartel operations near St. Mary's Hospital during lunch break with fellow agents disguised as friends at a cafe, an unusual request came through. They needed someone knowledgeable about hospitals for covert research aimed at neutralizing threats lurking within healthcare settings. The request sent chills down Mia's spine as realization hit. Her entire world had changed overnight by joining forces against this potent enemy, while keeping up appearances at work every day. Fear mingled with determination as she pressed on. She would continue nursing patients who relied on comfort while facing dangerous foes hidden beneath the facade of normal life. The artful dance between compassion and vigilance growing ever more intricate. Moments later, back at St. Mary's Hospital after lunch ended, right before chaos erupted, that nagging feeling grew stronger in Mia's chest like thunder rumbling before a storm. Time was running out for both identities hiding within herself, because soon enough there would be no choice between being merely a caregiver or battling foes intent on destruction. As the sun began to set over the city, casting long shadows through the bustling streets, a sinister plot was unfolding within the walls of St. Mary's Hospital. Unbeknownst to its staff and patients, a dangerous drug cartel had set its sights on this seemingly ordinary medical facility, viewing it as a perfect front for their illicit activities. The cartel, known as Los Reyes, had grown increasingly bold in recent months, expanding their operations into different neighborhoods. Their latest scheme involved smuggling drugs through the hospital under the guise of legitimate medical supplies. They believed that with the right connections and a few well-placed threats, they could exploit the busy emergency department to transport narcotics without attracting unwanted attention from law enforcement. At the heart of their plan was Dr. Mark Reynolds, a brilliant physician with an uncanny ability to spot inconsistencies in medical supplies. Dr. Reynolds had recently discovered discrepancies in inventory records that pointed to irregularities involving certain shipments arriving at the hospital. He was on the verge of uncovering something significant, something that could expose the cartel's operations and bring them crashing down. Los Reyes knew they had to act fast. Their entire operation depended on keeping Dr. Reynolds quiet. The cartel leaders met in a dimly lit warehouse on the outskirts of town, where they discussed their strategy. Surrounded by armed guards and low-level operatives, they plotted how best to kidnap the doctor without drawing attention. "Once we have him, we can make sure he never speaks about what he knows," snarled Alejandro, the cartel's ruthless second-in-command. His piercing gaze scanned the faces of his men as he laid out their plan. "We'll send in a few of our best operatives disguised as medical staff," he continued, tapping a finger against a table covered in blueprints and photographs of St. Mary's Hospital. "They'll use distraction tactics to create chaos during shift changes. While everyone is preoccupied with patient care and emergencies, we'll grab him." Unbeknownst to them, Mia Johnson was also working in the hospital during this critical time. With her keen instincts honed from years of training, she sensed something unusual was brewing beneath the surface. An undercurrent of tension that made her skin prickle with unease as she moved through her duties that evening. Checking on patients and monitoring their treatments, Mia kept an ear open for any odd conversations or signs of trouble among her colleagues. She overheard murmurs about missing supplies and noticed some unfamiliar faces lingering around the emergency department more than usual. Her heart raced as she pieced together the fragments of information she gathered. Meanwhile, Alejandro had dispatched a small team to infiltrate St. Mary's Hospital under false identities. They donned scrubs and ID badges but carried weapons hidden beneath their uniforms, a dangerous combination meant to ensure compliance through intimidation rather than cooperation. The cartel's operatives planned to create confusion by staging an emergency situation that would draw attention away from Dr. Reynolds' location. A calculated move designed to make their kidnapping seem like part of an ordinary hospital crisis. As Mia completed her shift and prepared for another long night ahead, she sensed that danger lurked just around the corner. She recalled her extensive training and began devising countermeasures in case things escalated beyond control. "Stay alert," she whispered to herself as she moved toward supply closets where she'd stashed personal items for defense if needed. Small tools that could serve multiple purposes if ever pushed into action. Just as Mia turned back toward her nursing station after checking equipment for her rounds, chaos erupted in one corner of the emergency room. The sound of raised voices cut through normal hospital chatter like knives slicing through silence. A young nurse rushed past Mia with wide eyes filled with panic. "There's something wrong. We need help." The alarm bells rang loudly within Mia's mind. She wasted no time in heading toward the commotion while scanning faces for any sign indicating who might be responsible. In this moment of impending crisis, Mia remained unaware of how close danger truly was. Little did she know that her skills as an elite agent would soon be put to an unexpected test against those who sought control over lives instead of saving them. As the night shift settled in at St. Mary's Hospital, the usual bustle turned into a flurry of activity. Patients were checked in, medical updates were shared, and the hum of conversations filled the air. But for Mia Johnson, a sense of urgency heightened her alertness. The soft glow of fluorescent lights flickered above as shadows danced across the floor. Something felt off. Mia made her way through the emergency department. Her instincts, honed from intense training, whispered to her that all was not normal as she observed colleagues chatting and patients waiting patiently. She noticed small details that seemed out of place. Two men wearing scrubs lingered near the nurse's station. Their demeanor seemed overly relaxed while everyone else was focused on their work. They offered polite greetings, but their eyes darted around as if scouting for potential targets. "Something's definitely not right," Mia muttered under her breath, tightening her grip on a clipboard filled with patient data. She walked past them casually but kept her eyes peeled for any signs of trouble. The minutes ticked by slowly as Mia continued her routine tasks. Yet every time she glimpsed the two men, they sent a ripple of unease through her. She began to think of the intel she had reviewed earlier that week, how the cartel operated under disguises and used distractions to orchestrate their plans. The growing feeling in Mia's stomach reminded her how dangerous this could be if Dr. Reynolds remained unaware of his potential peril. Then, without warning, a loud commotion erupted in an adjacent room. A scream pierced through hospital chatter like glass shattering against concrete. "Help! Someone help! A nurse shouted. Mia's heart raced as adrenaline surged through her veins. She quickly rushed towards the sound, instincts kicking into high gear as she seamlessly shifted from nurse mode to agent mode. Stay calm. What's happening? She called out as she entered the room to find chaos. Dr. Reynolds stood over a gurney, looking stunned. Two men in scrubs had flanked him. One brandished a knife while the other attempted to pull him away from the equipment he was monitoring. The scene unraveled in front of her like a horror movie playing out in real time. Relying on her training, Mia analyzed the situation rapidly. She spotted a nearby tray filled with sterile tools and knew she had to act swiftly before the doctors were overpowered. Hey! Back off! Mia shouted, surprising both intruders and refocusing their attention toward her. The man with the knife hesitated momentarily. Glancing at his partner, it was just enough time for Mia to sprint forward and close the distance between them in one quick motion. Her years of swimming lessons transformed into fluidity and motion as she tackled the man with the knife, pushing him away from Dr. Reynolds while using her body weight to gain control. Another nurse joined forces with Mia, grabbing a hold of the second intruder's arm. However, he pushed her back with a forceful shove. Chaos erupted again as other staff members responded to the emergency, rushing into room filled with tension. Get Dr. Reynolds to safety! Mia yelled over the fray as she continued wrestling with the man whose knife was now lost on the ground somewhere under a fierce exchange of strength and determination. Mia utilized techniques she practiced tirelessly. The elbow strikes that incapacitated him long enough for her to disarm him completely. She wrested control of his wrist while pinning him against the wall. A thud echoed throughout the room as she delivered a swift kick to his leg that sent him sprawling backward onto a pile of surgical blankets sprawled on one of the nearby beds. Dr. Reynolds looked shocked but relieved as Mia ushered him back toward safety while keeping an eye on the remaining assailant. Stay behind me, she called out protectively as he regained footing amidst fleeing chaos. Moments later, order began to take shape again as security personnel rushed in with even more medical staff following close behind, while others orchestrated an exit strategy, safely guiding patients away from danger, responding swiftly as if part of an intricate dance set to save lives. What were they after? Dr. Reynolds gasped, still wide-eyed in disbelief by the turn of events. Your knowledge, Mia answered tersely yet reassuringly while scanning for any signs of further trouble approaching their vicinity. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, but clarity emerged stronger than fear as officers finally subdued both intruders with expert efficiency. Following Mia's alert and intervention, it became apparent. Not only had she thwarted their kidnapping attempt, but also sensed danger just in time to protect those who mattered most within those hospital walls. The artful dance between compassion and vigilance had taken on unexpected depths. As the chaos settled in the emergency room and security personnel rushed to the scene, Mia stood poised to respond to the aftermath of the kidnapping attempt. Dr. Mark Reynolds was safe for the moment, but she could sense that the tension didn't just evaporate with her quick actions. It lingered like static in the air. With rapid determination, Mia shifted back into nurse mode, ready to utilize both her medical expertise and her secret agent skills. Dr. Reynolds, are you okay? She asked, scanning his face for any signs of injury. The doctor nodded, still visibly shaken but aware that he needed to regain his composure quickly. I'm fine, but we need to check on the others, he replied, straightening up and preparing to head toward another part of the hospital where staff and patients might still be in danger. Wait, Mia said, her voice steady yet urgent. Let's secure this area first. She pulled out a nearby stretcher that could be used as a barrier and maneuvered it strategically to shield them from any further attacks. I'll hold this position while you call for backup. Within seconds, Mia flipped seamlessly between her roles as a nurse and a secret agent. While navigating the surrounding chaos and crowd control efforts initiated by security, her eyes were on the two cartel members who had been subdued. She assessed their conditions and noted that one was unconscious while the other was regaining awareness and beginning to stir. Mia remained calm despite the urgency and adrenaline coursing through her veins. We need to restrain him properly, she said decisively, grabbing medical supplies from a nearby cart. Gauze, bandages, and duct tape. She had learned through her training how to improvise tools from everyday items. They might not be ideal, but they would work for now. Using swift movements honed from years of practice, She wrapped duct tape around the man's wrists before securing his ankles. Her nursing skills allowed her to act quickly without compromising efficiency, all while keeping one eye on Dr. Reynolds to ensure he was safe. "Do I call the police? Now?" Dr. Reynolds asked as he adjusted his glasses and peered at Mia with admiration mingled with disbelief. "Do it. I'll keep an eye on them," Mia instructed firmly as he rushed to grab a phone. She turned her focus back to the cartel member who had begun to regain consciousness and groan in confusion. "Where am I?" he mumbled, looking around only to find Mia standing over him, arms crossed with authority. "What do you want?" "You'll find out soon enough," she replied coolly as she prepared herself mentally for whatever might come next. Just then, there was an explosion of noise from outside the emergency room. The sound of shouts and running footsteps reverberated through the hallways. Mia raised her head sharply as a wave of realization hit her. There were more cartel members possibly trying to infiltrate the hospital in response to their fallen comrades. "Mia!" Dr. Reynolds shouted as he returned with a phone in one hand but looked alarmed by the shifting situation. "We can't wait. We need to help evacuate patients." The urgency in his voice ignited Mia's sense of responsibility even deeper. "You're right." She tore her gaze away from the restrained cartel member and focused on the task ahead. "Let's guide everyone to safety first." They gathered fellow nurses and security personnel to help move patients onto gurneys, while Mia instructed everyone on what needed to be done. It was a blend of clinical efficiency and tactical prowess she had mastered through years of experience. "Anyone who can walk, help your neighbor," Mia called out as staff began lifting patients onto beds destined for safer areas away from potential threats. Each movement felt like choreography rehearsed countless times. Her hands flew over charts as she checked vitals even amidst the crisis. A moment later, as they pushed gurneys down hallways filled with startled faces, Mia saw the downed cartel member slowly pulling himself off the floor behind her. He was trying to escape while chaotic sounds swirled around them like a whirlpool, threatening to drag them under. "Mia! Behind you!" One of her colleagues yelled just in time as Mia pivoted and spotted him lunging forward toward Dr. Reynolds. Instinct kicked in once more. The tactical movements she had practiced came rushing back as she interposed herself between them within a split second. "Get back!" she shouted while disarming him in one swift motion using an elbow strike that sent him sprawling backward onto the floor again. "Everyone stay calm!" Mia yelled over her shoulder while adrenaline surged once more through her body. She swiftly assessed their surroundings once again. She realized it wouldn't just be about keeping Dr. Reynolds safe, as well as maintaining patient care. It was now a battle against individuals determined to cause harm in what should have been a sanctuary for healing. As order began to establish itself once again thanks to her quick thinking and resourcefulness, it became clear. She wasn't merely protecting lives. She was redefining courage within those walls where compassion met vigilance head-on. With the hospital's emergency room still buzzing with tension, Mia Johnson took a deep breath to steady herself. Her instincts screamed that more danger lurked within St. Mary's Hospital. She had thwarted one attempt, but she knew the cartel was not finished yet as she and Dr. Mark Reynolds organized the evacuation of patients. An uneasy calm settled over them, until a loud crash echoed through the hallway, sending ripples of panic through the hospital staff. Mia's heart raced as she turned to see a group of cartel members storming into the main corridor, their faces masked with determination and malice. "Back to your stations! Lock down now!" Mia yelled, commanding attention as adrenaline surged through her veins. She positioned herself protectively in front of Dr. Reynolds while signaling to security personnel to initiate lockdown procedures. The cartel members, led by Alejandro, the ruthless second-in-command, were armed and dangerous. "Let's make this quick," he shouted, scanning the area with an intimidating glare. "We're not leaving without Dr. Reynolds." Mia could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her but stood firm, her training kicking in as she prepared for what was about to unfold. Alejandro approached with a cold smile, sensing her resolve. "You think you can stop us? You're just a nurse," he taunted, his tone dripping with disdain. "Get away from him," Mia said, her voice steady and unwavering as she squared her shoulders against the mounting fear around her. The tension in the air crackled like electricity. She could feel everyone's eyes on her as if waiting for a signal. "Or what?" Alejandro challenged, stepping closer. Behind him, two of his men flanked him, Looking equally menacing, in that moment, Mia made a split-second decision. She would not wait for them to attack. Instead, she would take charge of the situation. With the precision she'd perfected in countless training sessions, she darted forward before Alejandro could react. Using her combat skills, Mia swiftly struck with a well-aimed kick to Alejandro's midsection, sending him stumbling back. Without losing momentum, she pivoted and grabbed the wrist of one of his henchmen who lunged at her with a weapon drawn. With fluid grace, she twisted his arm behind his back and slammed him into the wall, disarming him in seconds. The chaos erupted around them as Dr. Reynolds shouted orders to keep everyone safe while other staff members sought shelter behind desks and equipment. Mia fought strategically, aligning herself next to any available cover while keeping her focus on Alejandro and his remaining accomplice. Alejandro recovered quickly and charged at Mia in a rage. Just as he drew near, she performed a roll that brought her under his reach and back to her feet in one fluid motion behind him. In that instant, another henchman came at Mia from the left. She ducked low again and executed an elbow strike that knocked him off balance. The staff began evacuating patients further down the hall. Mia's senses heightened. Each moment felt stretched thin as time slowed around her like molasses. She needed to end this showdown quickly before more chaos ensued. Alejandro lunged at her once more with desperate fury, but this time, Mia was prepared. Channeling every ounce of training and experience within her body, she evaded him again as he faltered forward from his own momentum. Mia seized the opportunity to perform a swift roundhouse kick that sent him crashing into a nearby gurney. "Get on your knees," Mia commanded fiercely as he crumpled onto the floor in surprise and anger. "You'll pay for this?" he hissed through clenched teeth while trying to regain composure. "The only thing you'll be paying for is your criminal deeds." Mia shot back defiantly as she soon looked toward the last remaining henchman who edged closer again cautiously but not without intention of attack. She was aware time was running out. Soon enough, there would be backup from authorities responding outside or additional cartel forces flocking their way through hospital grounds aiming for revenge against those who stood opposed to them in this high-stakes battle, where lives hung precariously by threads woven from intelligence and instinct combined with skillful execution. Mia emerged determined not just as a nurse or agent, but as a fierce protector who would stop at nothing to defend those who sought healing amidst darkness. With another burst of motion fueled by adrenaline and fierce commitment to saving Dr. Reynolds along with all others present, Mia lunged forward once more towards this final adversary, a culmination of all she had trained for now coming alive in vivid clarity. It was an intense confrontation painted against stark contrast between light struggled against shadows, the heart pumping louder than ever inside this sanctuary, where lives were meant to be preserved even when teetering at edges between salvation and peril. The chaos in the hospital began to dissipate as Mia Johnson caught her breath, the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. After successfully disarming Alejandro and his henchmen, she knew they couldn't afford to linger any longer. The cartel would soon realize they were outmatched, and backup would be arriving, both from the police and potentially from additional cartel members. Mia turned to Dr. Mark Reynolds, who was visibly shaken but grateful. "We need to get out of here," she said urgently, scanning the hallway for any signs of remaining threats. "Is there a secure exit we can use?" Dr. Reynolds nodded, recalling the layout of the hospital from years of working there. "There's a service exit at the back that leads directly outside, away from the main entrance where all the chaos is happening." "Perfect," Mia replied, her mind racing as she formulated a quick escape plan. "We'll take that route. But first, we need to ensure that everyone else is safe." She gestured toward a few remaining staff members who were still processing what had just happened. "Gather everyone who can walk and any patients who are stable enough to move," Mia instructed decisively. "We're heading toward the service exit." As Dr. Reynolds rallied a few nurses to assist in gathering patients, Mia took stock of their surroundings. The emergency room was still filled with tension. Patients looked frightened while nurses worked diligently but nervously in response to the earlier chaos. "Mia," one of her colleagues called out as they approached with a couple of gurneys. "We've got these patients ready. What's next?" "Good work. We'll take them with us," she said while quickly moving her eyes around for any potential threats lurking nearby, her instincts deepening with each passing moment. Once they had gathered a small group of stable patients and staff members ready for evacuation, Mia led the way down the corridor towards the service exit Dr. Reynolds had mentioned. Each step felt like both liberation and danger intertwined. She remained acutely aware that they could encounter cartel members at any moment. "Keep your voices low," Mia instructed as they moved cautiously down another hallway, feeling every heartbeat echo through her body like an alarm signal. They reached a door marked Service Exit at last. Mia pushed it open slowly, ensuring it wouldn't creak or draw attention before stepping outside into the cool night air. A sense of relief washed over her as she stepped into darkness away from prying eyes. However, she instinctively crouched low behind a large dumpster. "Everyone stay close," she whispered urgently before looking around for any signs of danger outside. Dr. Reynolds joined her side as he peered into the dark alleyway stretching before them. "What now?" he asked quietly. "We need to make our way around this corner and head toward the parking lot," Mia replied strategically while pointing ahead where dim lights flickered in the distance, a hopeful sign leading them toward freedom. They carefully maneuvered along shadowy paths between buildings clustered near back entrances. Mia remained hyper-aware of every noise surrounding them. The rustling leaves against concrete felt like whispers warning them not to let their guard down yet. Suddenly, just as they rounded a corner, another figure appeared ahead. A man dressed similarly in scrubs but bearing an unmistakable look of aggression etched on his face. Mia recognized him immediately. He was one of Alejandro's henchmen who had slipped away during their earlier confrontation inside. Panic surged within her chest as instincts kicked in once more. Time seemed to stretch as their eyes locked momentarily before he lunged forward toward them. Before anyone could react, Mia sprang into action again with precision fueled by determination. The very essence of training and experience melding into combat instincts driving her forward without hesitation. She sidestepped his attack gracefully while delivering a swift counterpunch that landed squarely on his jaw. The man stumbled backward against a wall with disbelief, painted across his face long enough for Dr. Reynolds and fellow staff members to rush past him unscathed. Their escape now closer than ever. Without breaking stride after executing such fluid movements against an adversary intent on harm, Mia urged everyone onward again towards safety where shadows faded away behind them. The way-in burdens persevering through darkness finally giving way to hope illuminating underneath flickering streetlights overhead guiding them homeward. As they reached an area filled with parked vehicles awaiting transport back towards safety, Mia couldn't allow herself respite yet. Not until every last person made it safely home. As Mia Johnson and Dr. Mark Reynolds emerged from the service exit of St. Mary's Hospital, the cool night air filled their lungs. But there was no time to catch their breath. A sense of urgency propelled them forward. Urgency intensified by the distant sounds of chaos enveloping the hospital as alarms blared and voices echoed in panic. They had narrowly escaped the cartel's clutches, but the danger was far from over. "Which way?" Dr. Reynolds asked, glancing around for any signs of safety amidst the shadows. "Follow me," Mia replied, her mind racing with knowledge of the city streets she had navigated countless times before. She led them down a narrow alleyway, squeezing past garbage bins and dodging stray cats skittering away from their path. The dim glow of streetlights cast long shadows on the walls around them, shadows that felt increasingly alive with danger. Behind them, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed, heavy boots pounding against pavement hurriedly, along with shouts that sent chills down Mia's spine. The cartel members had regrouped and were hot on their trail. "They're coming!" Dr. Reynolds exclaimed, panic creeping into his voice. "Keep moving! We need to be faster," Mia urged, her heart racing as adrenaline surged through her veins. She turned sharply to the left, darting into another alley while her instincts guided her. Years of covert training and experiences as a secret agent kicked in. She needed every ounce of her honed skills now. The alley opened up onto a side street lined with shops still illuminated by neon signs. Mia glanced over her shoulder and spotted two cartel members emerging from the alley they had just vacated with swift action. She ducked down between two parked cars, pulling Dr. Reynolds down with her just as bullets began to fly overhead. Shots fired in their direction. "Stay low," she instructed, focusing on their escape route while assessing their surroundings. Spotting a service door marked employees only, Mia motioned for Dr. Reynolds to follow her. They dashed toward it, and Mia pulled the handle, pushing it open just in time as another shot rang out, echoing off the walls behind them. Inside the building was a maze of storage, rooms and narrow corridors. It was dimly lit, but it offered crucial cover from their pursuers outside. "Where do we go now?" Dr. Reynolds asked breathlessly as they crept through the hallway. "We need to find a way out and find help," Mia replied as she took note of exits marked on a map hanging on the wall nearby. "We can cut through this building and get to the parking lot behind it." The pair moved quickly through the storage area, crouching low to avoid detection while listening for any signs of approaching cartel members. The adrenaline fueled them both. They were on high alert, ready to react at a moment's notice if needed. Suddenly, they heard voices, the unmistakable tones of Alejandro barking orders to his men. "They went this way. Check all the exits." The voices grew louder as they approached. Mia exchanged worried glances with Dr. Reynolds before pulling him toward a door labeled Exit. She pushed it open slightly, peering outside and confirming their next move. "Now or never," she whispered urgently as they dashed out into another narrow alleyway. They continued sprinting down the side streets until they reached a main thoroughfare, which seemed oddly deserted at this late hour. "We need a vehicle," Mia said, frantically scanning for any options. Her eyes landed on a parked delivery van close by, its engine still running. Without hesitation, she broke into a sprint toward it, Dr. Reynolds right behind her as they reached the van. Mia yanked open the side door and quickly hopped inside while motioning for the doctor to follow. "You drive," she instructed decisively while reaching for the keys hanging in the ignition. "We'll head toward the docks. I know a way around that area." Dr. Reynolds nodded energetically as he took control of the wheel and backed out of the parking spot just in time to see two figures emerge from an alley behind them. A pair of cartel members realizing that their prey was slipping away. Mia quickly turned to face them from the back of the van, ready for whatever came next. "Hold on!" She grabbed onto anything secure as Dr. Reynolds floored it down the street, tires screeching in protest against asphalt as they accelerated away from danger. The van jolted forward like a rocket escaping gravity. Mia held her breath as they sped away through twists and turns around corners, with each jolt enhancing her resolve to keep both herself and Dr. Reynolds safe against all odds. That high-stakes chase through the city streets illuminated by headlights swerving wildly while shadows danced between parked cars. Mia's instincts guided them closer towards safety with each calculated maneuver as they raced further into the night. As the delivery van sped through the dimly lit streets, Mia's mind raced, plotting their next move after narrowly escaping the cartel's pursuit. The adrenaline still surged through her, fueling her awareness of the danger that loomed ahead. "We need to put some distance between us and those guys," she urged Dr. Reynolds, who was focused intently on navigating the unfamiliar roads. "Where do we go?" the doctor asked, his voice strained but steady. "There's an abandoned warehouse near the docks that I know. It's out of sight and could give us a moment to regroup and plan," Mia replied, quickly pointing toward the direction they needed to head. "It's a risk, but we can't just keep running." "Got it. Let's get there quick," he said, accelerating the van as they turned a corner. Unfortunately, their luck was about to run out. Mia glanced back and saw headlights approaching rapidly. A group of cartel members pursuing them in a black SUV. "They're right behind us," she gasped. Dr. Reynolds tightened his grip on the wheel. "Hold on." He swerved sharply down a narrow street lined with old brick buildings, spinning around corners as bullets whizzed past them from the pursuing vehicle. Mia took a deep breath, preparing mentally for what was to come. She knew this chase wouldn't end well unless they could outsmart their attackers. As they neared the warehouse district, she saw an opportunity. An alley to their left that led directly behind a series of warehouses. "Turn left into that alley," she shouted. Just as they made the turn, the cartel SUV skidded to keep pace but couldn't maneuver as quickly. In a moment of calculated desperation, Mia grabbed the gear lever beside her, looking decidedly predatory as she glanced back at Dr. Reynolds and nodded. "This is it." With a sudden surge of speed, Dr. Reynolds followed Mia's direction and cornered into a sputtering exit from the alleyway that led directly behind the warehouse they sought for shelter. The sound of metal scraping and engine revving echoed in concert as they rolled to a stop inside the dark, cavernous structure. Mia wasted no time. She hopped out of the van and assessed their surroundings for threats. "Stay close," she ordered, pulling Dr. Reynolds along and pushing deeper into the shadows of discarded crates and fading machinery. Glancing back toward the entrance, Mia felt a mix of dread and exhilaration. The footsteps echoed louder in her ears. The cartel members were not far behind. Mia moved swiftly to secure their hideout location while scanning near debris piled against an old wall that might provide good cover. "We need a plan. They will come searching for us," she whispered urgently as her heart thundered in her chest as if on cue. Shouts filled the air outside as Alejandro's voice called out orders to his remaining men. "They must be here. Split up and search." "Mia," Dr. Reynolds said nervously, glancing toward a small window high above them where faint moonlight streamed in from outside. "What do we do if they find us?" With determination gleaming in her eyes, Mia formulated a plan. One born from sharp experience and training in combat scenarios outside of medical expertise. "We ambush them." "What? Are you sure?" he asked incredulously. "Mia has proven herself before," she reminded herself internally as she focused on finding some makeshift weapons lying about among old equipment. "Yes. Look for anything we can use, those wooden planks over there." Moments later, Mia armed herself with a dusty metal rod and fashioned wooden planks into makeshift barriers for protection while they waited in silence for cartel members to come closer as footsteps grew nearer. It was time. It was now or never, heart pounding like a drumstick against fragile logs. She crept low against the ground awaiting their entry point with Dr. Reynolds at her side, steeling himself for battle after realizing how serious this was becoming. Suddenly entering view like blathery vultures were two figures stepping cautiously into sight. A testament to Mia's effective execution, thus far astonished near impossible resolve ignited within her very core when recognizing both Alejandro and one remaining henchman had finally walked into their trap. "Surprise!" Mia shouted, leaping forth from behind cover with striking force born from pure tenacity fueled by resolve. A fierce combination of courage unleashed against those conspiring against lives meant for healing, with fluid movements honed through training years deep. She barreled toward Alejandro first with everything she had, all while knowing that whatever happened next would become a life-changing confrontation, solidifying their very fates laid bare. The warehouse echoed with silence after the last of the cartel members fell. Mia Johnson stood amid the remnants of the fierce confrontation, her breath coming in heavy bursts as she surveyed the scene around her. The dust stirred by their struggles settled like a shroud, yet she felt an overwhelming sense of relief wash over her. They had won. Dr. Mark Reynolds emerged from behind a stack of crates, his expression a mixture of awe and concern. "You did it, Mia. I can't believe how swiftly you took them down," he said, gesturing toward the incapacitated figures on the floor. Mia brushed a few strands of hair away from her face, still processing what had just happened. "We did it," she corrected him softly, acknowledging that teamwork had played a vital role in their survival. As they caught their breath, Mia's mind drifted to her dual life, a life lived in shadows and secrets. She had known for some time that her roles as both a compassionate nurse and a skilled secret agent would eventually collide, but facing off with the cartel had tested every part of who she was. "You're incredible," Dr. Reynolds continued, breaking through her thoughts. "But how did you learn to fight like that? It's almost unbelievable." Mia hesitated for a moment before deciding to share part of her truth. "I've been trained for years, both in combat and nursing. It's just, I never thought it would come down to this." Her voice trailed off as she considered the gravity of her actions. "Thank you for saving my life," he said sincerely, his gaze steady as he met hers. "I know you took a huge risk." She waved off his thanks, feeling overwhelmed by everything that had transpired. "I did what needed to be done," she replied quietly but with resolve. "We have to get out of here before more cartel members arrive." As they moved cautiously through the now quiet warehouse, Mia contemplated the path forward. She could no longer ignore the reality that both sides of herself, the compassionate nurse and the capable agent, were intertwined in ways that could not be easily separated. They stepped outside into the night air, now fresh with promise and possibility. The chaos at St. Mary's Hospital seemed distant as they emerged onto an empty street illuminated by flickering streetlights. "Where do we go from here?" Dr. Reynolds asked, glancing around while trying to regain his bearings. "We head back to my apartment," Mia decided quickly. "It's not far from here and should be safe for now." He nodded, following her lead as they walked briskly down the block, staying alert for any signs of trouble as they approached Mia's apartment building. She felt a rush of familiarity. This place was both home and sanctuary, a place where she could be more than just an agent or nurse but simply herself for a little while. Once inside, Mia locked the door behind them and leaned against it for support while exhaling slowly. The adrenaline that had propelled her through both battles began to fade away, replaced by exhaustion and relief. "I need to think about what happens next," she stated aloud, as much for herself as for Dr. Reynolds, overwhelmed by thoughts about how close things had come, the danger they faced together. It all swirled around in her mind like leaves caught in a storm. "You should tell someone about what happened," Dr. Reynolds suggested gently but firmly as he looked at her with concern etched across his features. "I can't," Mia replied resolutely. "This is my life. You can't understand what I'm fighting against on both fronts." "Maybe not completely," he admitted honestly, "but I care about your safety and everyone's safety at St. Mary's." Mia appreciated his sentiment but knew deep down that revealing her secrets would only complicate matters further. Secrecy was essential in maintaining balance between these two worlds, her duties as a healthcare provider contrasting starkly against those requiring vigilance forged from sheer strength born out of necessity alone. As they sat together in silence contemplating futures ahead juxtaposed against fears lurking within shadows only known intimately, it became clear. She wouldn't abandon either side. Instead, blending compassion with courage would become her defining legacy moving forward into challenges yet unencountered. And so it was that even amidst uncertainties looming large ahead, Mia embraced duality inherent within herself rather than letting struggle pull them apart. This delicate harmony forged anew beneath stars twinkling overhead held promise beyond shadows. As the sun began to rise over the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, Mia Johnson sat on the edge of her bed, feeling the weight of what had transpired the night before. The adrenaline from their harrowing escape had faded, leaving behind a mix of exhaustion and an unsettling sense of alertness. She glanced at Dr. Mark Reynolds, who was seated across the room, still processing their recent confrontation with the cartel. "Everything feels different now," he murmured, breaking the silence as he leaned back against the wall. "What happens next?" Mia contemplated his question, her mind swirling with thoughts of her dual life, the caring nurse and the secret agent who had fought fiercely to protect not just herself but also those she cared about. "I think we have to remain vigilant," she replied. "The cartel may not be completely defeated." Dr. Reynolds nodded thoughtfully, his brow furrowed. "You mentioned before that there are dangerous connections they still have. What if they come after you again? Or what if they come for me?" "I know," Mia said, her heart racing as she considered their predicament. "But I can't let fear control my life. I need to keep working as a nurse. It's who I am. But I also need to be ready for whatever comes next." Just then, her phone buzzed on the nightstand, piercing through their conversation like a siren song. Mia picked it up and glanced at the screen, her heart skipping a beat as she noticed an unknown number flashing in front of her. "Hold on," she told Dr. Reynolds, anxiety creeping into her voice. "Who is it?" he asked, leaning forward. "Not sure. Let me check." She hit the answer button and pressed it to her ear. "Hello, Mia." The voice on the other end sent chills down her spine. "Alejandro?" she breathed, immediately recognizing the tone of her opponent, dangerous and unyielding. "We're not finished yet," he said coldly. "You may have escaped last night, but you've made powerful enemies. You'll pay for interfering." Before Mia could respond, the line went dead. She looked at Dr. Reynolds, fear evident in her eyes. "He's alive. Alejandro is coming after us." "Then we have to leave now," Dr. Reynolds urged, already standing and moving toward the door. "No," Mia said firmly, shaking her head. "We can't let them chase us away from our lives or our work." Her voice steadied as she took control of her racing thoughts. "We need to gather information and prepare ourselves to fight back." Dr. Reynolds regarded her intently, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "But how?" "They know where we are now." Mia took a deep breath and began pacing the small room, piecing together a strategy that combined her nursing instincts with her training as an agent. "We'll need allies, people who can help us gather intel on their movements and plan our next steps," she concluded. She reached over to grab a notebook from her desk that held contact numbers and resources she had accumulated throughout her secretive life as an agent. As she flipped through its pages, a sense of conviction surged within her. That warehouse isn't going to be our only battleground, Mia stated with resolve. We'll use everything we have at our disposal. Dr. Reynolds paused for a moment before smiling slightly, inspired by her confidence. I'm in this with you, Mia. Whatever you need. Mia's heart warmed at his support. She knew they were no longer just a nurse and doctor but partners facing an unseen enemy together. Together they set out on their mission to reclaim control over their lives. A fresh blend of compassion mixed with readiness for battle glowing brightly between them as they forged deeper into the world where danger lurked constantly alongside their noble intentions. As they stepped outside into the early morning light that washed over them like hope igniting anew. A promise lay ahead, and it was clear. While tonight might represent an end, it was also merely another beginning where shadows surfaced moments away from sunlight blazing boldly across city streets. Mia felt deeply that this was only the beginning of many challenges yet to come. There would be a time when her skills would be needed again to combat threats lingering just beyond reach. The shadows beckoning like whispers promising tumultuous adventures awaiting them both.